Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and if you are new here, welcome. I am so glad you found this video because today we are going to be talking about something that I have genuinely been wanting to make a video about for a while now, and it is the kind of content that I think hits differently than the usual news coverage and tour updates and brand collaboration stories, as much as I love all of those things. Because today we are going deep into something that gets at a question that I think a lot of people, both inside the ARMY community and well outside of it, have wondered about at some point. The question of what it is about ParkJimin's face and his presence and his overall aesthetic that produces the specific and powerful response it produces in such a wide and diverse range of people across cultures and age groups and demographics that have very little else in common. The Jimin effect, as we have discussed many times on this channel, is real and it is documented and it extends far beyond what simple fan enthusiasm can account for. But what is actually driving it at the level of visual perception and human psychological response? What is it about what Jimin looks like and how he carries himself that makes him the subject of one of the most consistently powerful fan responses in the history of popular culture? Today, we have the beginning of an answer to that question. Not from a fan account or from a social media thread or from a music journalist trying to capture something that is fundamentally outside their professional vocabulary. We have the beginning of an answer from Dr. Kwon Byung, a board-certified plastic surgeon, who shared his professional and personal assessment of Jimin's unique appeal and who said things that I think are going to reframe how a lot of people think about what makes Jimin so universally compelling. Let us get into it. Dr. Kwon Byung was not someone who came to this conversation from a K-pop fan background. He is a medical professional, a board-certified plastic surgeon whose daily work involves the most intimate and technical possible engagement with human facial aesthetics, with the specific structures and proportions and qualities that make faces appealing or distinctive or memorable. His professional frame of reference is not the fan community's frame of reference. It is the frame of reference of someone who has spent a career studying what makes human faces beautiful and compelling and distinctive from a technical and scientific perspective. When he says something about Jimin's face, he is not saying it as a fan. He is saying it as someone whose professional training and experience gives him a very specific and very informed lens for understanding what he is seeing. And what he said is extraordinary. Let me start with the most immediate and most personal dimension of what Dr. Kwon shared, because I think it sets the tone for everything else he said. He described himself as a fan. He said that Jimin is amazing and impressive and that he likes him very much. And I want to pause on this for a moment because the fact that a board-certified plastic surgeon who deals with human beauty and human aesthetics in a clinical and technical context every day of his professional life describes Jimin as amazing and impressive is itself meaningful. This is not someone who is easily impressed by appearances. This is someone who has spent years developing a highly calibrated and highly sophisticated eye for what constitutes genuine aesthetic distinctiveness in a human face. And he finds Jimin amazing. He finds him impressive. He likes him very much. That reaction, coming from that professional background, tells us something important about what Jimin's aesthetic actually represents at a technical level, before we even get into the specific observations about facial structure and vocal color and performance quality that Dr. Kwon went on to share. The first specific area that Dr. Kwon addressed was Jimin's monolids, which he described as among the things that stand out most in his assessment of what makes Jimin's appearance so distinctive and so compelling. Now for anyone who is not familiar with the term, monolids are the eyelid structure that lacks the double crease that is common in many populations but that is a natural feature of many East Asian faces, including Jimin's. In the context of Korean beauty standards and in the broader conversation about Asian facial aesthetics, monolids have a complicated history that involves a lot of external pressure toward conformity and toward surgical modification to create or enhance a double eyelid crease. Dr. Kwon's framing of Jimin's monolids as one of the things that stands out most as a distinctive and appealing feature is, in that context, a meaningful aesthetic statement. He is not framing them as a feature to be minimized or changed. He is framing them as one of the defining features of a face that he finds genuinely extraordinary. The monolids, in Dr. Kwon's professional assessment, are part of what makes Jimin's face the face that it is. They are part of what creates the specific visual impression that produces the response he described. They are not incidental. They are essential. The second thing Dr. Kwon highlighted was what he described as Jimin's kind appearance. The phrase kind appearance is doing a lot of work here, and I think it deserves careful examination because it is pointing at something very specific about the visual impression that Jimin's face creates in the people who look at it. A kind appearance is not simply a beautiful appearance or an attractive appearance or even a striking appearance. It is an appearance that communicates something about the interior of the person, something about their character and their warmth and their orientation toward the people around them. When someone looks at Jimin's face and perceives kindness, they are perceiving something that goes beyond the arrangement of his features. They are responding to the quality of expression and the quality of openness that his face communicates, the sense that this is a person who is genuinely oriented toward others, who is genuinely warm, who is genuinely present in a way that makes the people around him feel seen and cared for. And the fact that Dr. Kwon, as a medical professional with a highly trained eye for facial aesthetics, identifies the kind appearance as one of the defining features of Jimin's visual appeal tells us something important about why the response to him is so consistent across such a wide range of people. Because kindness is one of the most universally attractive qualities in a human face. This is something that psychological research on facial attractiveness has documented repeatedly and consistently across different cultures and different populations. Faces that communicate warmth and trustworthiness and genuine openness toward others are rated as more attractive by observers across a remarkably wide range of cultural contexts. The response to kindness in a face is not culturally specific in the way that many other aesthetic preferences are. It is something that appears to be much more universal. And Jimin's face, according to Dr. Kwon's professional assessment, communicates that quality at an unusually high level. The kind appearance is not a secondary quality of his face. It is one of the primary things that makes it the face it is. Dr. Kwon went further in his description of Jimin's facial characteristics, describing what he called a kind and gentle impression that often evokes a protective and nurturing quality in the people who look at him. This is a fascinating observation from a professional perspective because it is describing a very specific psychological response that Jimin's face tends to produce in observers. The protective instinct that his face evokes is something that the subtitle text in one of the shared videos captured explicitly, noting that he has a face that tends to evoke a protective instinct in people. This is not a common thing. Most attractive faces produce admiration or desire or respect or various other responses. The face that produces a protective instinct is doing something different and something more specific. It is communicating a quality of vulnerability that coexists with the beauty, a sense that there is something precious here that deserves to be cared for and protected. And Jimin's face, according to Dr. Kwon's professional observation, does this in a way that is unusually consistent and unusually powerful in its effect on observer. The specific facial features that Dr. Kwon identifies as contributing to this effect are worth examining in some detail because they tell us something precise about what he is seeing when he looks at Jimin's face. He describes relatively soft facial lines, which refers to the quality of the contours and the edges of his facial structure. Where many conventionally attractive male faces have strong sharp lines, angular jawlines, and prominent bone structure that communicates a kind of hardness or strength, Jimin's facial lines are softer and more curved, communicating something different and something more unusual. The softness of his facial lines is not a weakness in aesthetic terms. It is a distinctive quality that contributes to the specific impression his face creates, the kind and gentle appearance that Dr. Kwon identifies as one of its defining characteristics. He also notes a shorter face shape, which is a specific proportional quality of Jimin's facial structure. The ratio of facial length to facial width is one of the most studied variables in facial attractiveness research, and different proportions produce different aesthetic impressions. A shorter face shape tends to create an impression of youthfulness and approachability, which connects directly to the qualities that Dr. Kwon is identifying in Jimin's appearance. The shorter face shape is part of what creates the soft, kind, gentle impression that observers respond to so consistently. The prominence of what the doctor describes as under-eye fat, also known in Korean aesthetic terminology as egeocell, is another specific feature he highlights as contributing to Jimin's distinctive appeal. Egeocell refers to the small pockets of fat beneath the lower eyelid that create a slightly puffy appearance in that area, and they are considered particularly appealing in Korean aesthetic culture because they contribute to an expression of warmth and happiness, creating the impression of someone whose eyes naturally look like they are smiling even when the face is at rest. The prominence of this feature in Jimin's face contributes to the overall impression of warmth and approachability that Dr. Kwon identifies, and it is one of the specific structural reasons that his face consistently reads as kind and gentle rather than cold or distant. Dr. Kwon also notes full lips as a defining feature that contributes to Jimin's particularly intriguing aesthetic, and he specifically mentions that this combination of features is highly popular among Western fans. This observation is interesting from a cross-cultural perspective because it suggests that what Jimin's face communicates is not tied to a single cultural aesthetic framework. Western fans and Korean fans and fans from every other cultural context are responding to the same face with the same quality of response, which suggests that what his face communicates is operating at a level that is more universal than culturally specific. The combination of soft facial lines, shorter face shape, prominent igeocell, full lips, and monolids creates a visual impression that transcends the specific aesthetic frameworks of any particular culture and operates in a space of more universal human response to the qualities of warmth, kindness, and gentle strength. Dr. Kwon also addressed something that I think is often underestimated in the conversation about Jimin's visual appeal, which is the protective instinct that his face evokes. He described it specifically, noting that Jimin's face tends to make people want to protect him. This is a very specific and very interesting psychological response, and it has real implications for understanding why the Jimin effect operates the way it does across such a wide range of people. Because the protective instinct is not the same as simple attraction or admiration. It is a deeper and more personal response that involves a feeling of investment in the well-being of the person whose face evokes it. When someone looks at Jimin and feels the instinct to protect him, they are not just finding him attractive. They are feeling something more like care. More like concern. More like love in the broader sense of the word that encompasses the desire for someone's well-being rather than simply the desire for their presence. And that is a very powerful thing for a face to communicate. A very rare thing. And according to Dr. Kwon, Jimin's face communicates it with unusual consistency and unusual power. Beyond the purely visual and structural analysis of Jimin's facial features, Dr. Kwon also addressed what he called his artistic talent, and specifically his voice. And what he said about Jimin's voice is as specific and as professionally informed as what he said about his face, even though vocal analysis is not strictly within the domain of plastic surgery. He described Jimin's voice as a blend of youthful tones with mature sexiness, calling it a voice that is instantly recognizable. The specific combination of youthful quality and mature sensuality that he identifies in Jimin's vocal color is exactly the same quality that appears in his visual appeal. The face that looks young and kind and gentle while simultaneously communicating something deeper and more complex. The voice that sounds warm and youthful while simultaneously carrying a quality of depth and emotional intensity that goes beyond what simple youthfulness can produce. The consistency of this quality across both his visual appeal and his sonic identity is one of the reasons that the Jimin effect is as powerful as it is. Because he communicates the same fundamental combination of qualities through multiple channels simultaneously, and the cumulative effect of receiving that combination through multiple sensory modalities at once is an experience that is simply more overwhelming than experiencing any single quality through any single channel. Dr. Kwon noted specifically that you can hear Jimin's voice and know immediately that it is Jimin. Vocal recognition, the ability to identify a voice as belonging to a specific person from a single note or a single phrase, is one of the markers of a truly distinctive vocal identity. Most voices, even beautiful voices, blend into a general category of beautiful voice. The voices that are truly distinctive, that announce themselves as belonging to a specific person regardless of what they are singing or saying, are rare. And according to Dr. Kwon, Jimin's voice is among them. You hear it and you know. That instant recognition is not just a party trick or a practical convenience. It is evidence of a vocal identity so distinct and so specific that it has carved out its own space in the sonic landscape, a space that belongs only to ParkJimin. The combination of all of these observations, the monolids, the kind appearance, the gentle facial lines, the shorter face shape, the prominent igeocell, the full lips, the protective instinct the face evokes, the instantly recognizable vocal color that blends youth with mature depth, all of it points toward a single overarching conclusion that Dr. Kwon seems to be arriving at through his professional analysis. Which is that ParkJimin is not simply conventionally attractive. He is distinctively appealing in a way that goes beyond conventional attractiveness standards and that operates according to its own internal logic, a logic that is grounded in the specific combination of qualities his face and his voice and his presence communicate simultaneously, and that produces a response in observers that is more complex and more powerful than simple aesthetic appreciation. The fact that a board-certified plastic surgeon, someone who deals with human beauty in its most technical and most clinical context every day, describes Jimin as amazing and impressive and says that he likes him very much, is the most personal and perhaps the most telling dimension of everything Dr. Kwon shared. Because it suggests that whatever it is that Jimin's face and voice and presence communicate, it is compelling enough to reach through the professional distance of a medical expert and produce in him the same response that it produces in millions of fans around the world. The expert and the fan are having the same experience. And the content of that experience, according to Dr. Kwon's professional analysis, is an encounter with something genuinely unusual. Something that combines a face that is simultaneously beautiful and kind and protective instinct evoking with a voice that is simultaneously youthful and deep and instantly recognizable. Something that operates across multiple channels at once to create an experience that is more overwhelming than the sum of its parts. Something that, in the technical vocabulary of someone who spends their professional life studying human faces, is simply amazing. ParkJimin's face has always been one of the most discussed and most admired aspects of his public presence. The ARMY community has been analyzing and celebrating and attempting to describe what is special about it for over 13 years. And the answer has always been somewhat elusive, always escaping full capture in any single description or any single framework. Dr. Kwon's professional analysis does not fully capture it either, because the full truth of what Jimin's face communicates probably exceeds what any single framework can fully account for. But it gets closer than most things I have read or heard. The kind and gentle impression. The protective instinct it evokes. The soft facial lines and the aegiosal and the full lips and the monolids that together create an aesthetic that is highly popular among Western fans and among Eastern fans and among every other category of observer that has encountered it. The instantly recognizable voice that blends youth and maturity and that announces itself in a single phrase as belonging only to one person in the world. All of it together is what makes ParkJimin ParkJimin. And all of it together is what makes the whole world love what they see and hear when he is in the room. Amazing. Impressive. I like him so much. Dr. Kwon Byung so said it. And I think every single person who has ever encountered ParkJimin, whether they came to him through BTS or through a viral video or through a fashion campaign or through a fan cam of a concert performance, would say the same thing. That whatever it is exactly, whatever the precise combination of structural and expressive and sonic qualities that adds up to the specific experience of ParkJimin, the result of the addition is something that reaches you in a way that you did not fully expect and that you do not entirely know how to explain afterward. Amazing. Impressive. I like him so much. That is probably as close to the truth as language can get. Thank you so much for watching this video all the way to the end. Please hit the like button if Dr. Kwon's analysis gave you a new way of thinking about what makes Jimin so uniquely compelling. Leave a comment below telling me which part of his analysis resonated most with you, because I genuinely want to know. Subscribe to the channel if you are not already here because there is so much more content coming that I think you are going to love, and take care of yourselves. Purple you always. Purple heart.